the challenge is really that we've started moving in quite, we mentioned, John mentioned the clicking safe, clunk click safety belts. We've been quite good at increasing our street savviness out there in the real world. We're better at sort of watching out for pickpockets, we're better at protecting our homes, not leaving devices out on the dashboard on our cars when we park them, etc., all those kind of fine things. And indeed, crime has gone down in most of those areas. Where it's gone up, of course, is online and quite significantly increasing. And people just don't relate the two things. They don't relate to what they do online to an impact in the real world. And that's a challenge in itself. So how do you bridge that gap? How do you arrest the attention of people to say, actually, what you're doing online, fantastic, online's brilliant, please go online, do business online. We don't want to scare you. We don't want to scaremonger. That's the last thing we want to do with kids or otherwise. What we do want to do is promote good behaviours and build confidence. So this is part of the National Cyber Security programme run out of the Cabinet Office. Extended year, it's now over 5 years, and they have agreed, based on using this segmentation data, using specific targeting, that they've given us this £4 million that Tony mentioned earlier to fund this, to raise awareness, but also to actually measure the impact of it. So can we actually influence people's behaviour online? And Get Safe Online is part of that solution. So we've got, basically, in a nutshell, we've got some very specific objectives there that we're measuring in field. We've already done a benchmark. The benchmark looks at those numbers there. 63% of the population at the moment do 10 or more, there's no silver bullet, you've heard that 3 times now, 10 or more different behaviours online to keep them safe. It's a composite measure. SMEs, however, only 10%. And there's some amazing stories just to bring to life and add to what we've heard already. Visa telling us, for example, a ambulance driver in Cumbria running a number of servers in his garage, serving that kind of community in the Lake District, food and beverage, hotels, guest houses, pubs, restaurants. And of course, he got hacked. They all therefore got data stolen. And these are sort of businesses that rely on regular, loyal, but infrequent users. So many of those, in some cases, those businesses really struggle to survive. And it's trying to get the message, A, to the ambulance driver, but also, more importantly, to those end users, to those businesses. Who is doing your online security? What kind of questions do you need to ask them? And what's the basic, most simple way you can do that? So it starts becoming much more measurable, particularly for the current politic. It's very useful. It means that we've got something that's targeted, it's measurable, it provides a return. We've even had these conversations at boardroom level of top FTSE, and that includes some of the banks as well, who have been very interested in this. The weakest link in all of this stuff is us. It's people, it's businesses, it's individuals, it's not IT infrastructure, it's not new protections. Because, let's be honest, the way it's moving, the speed of pace, people will always get around those systems. It's about making sure that people are doing the basic things. So we've taken a simple, why is it frozen? A simple 5 of those key behaviours into communication. So we've basically put an advertising campaign out. So you'll see this hopefully on tube cards, on poster sites, the big ones, the ad shells, all backlit this time of year. Most of the time it's dark, let's be honest. So the very bright colours, very important. Animation's very important. Animation's key, particularly when we spoke to SME, business owners, because they said, look, don't give us real. If you give us real, A, it's either contrived and actors and we just don't believe it, or B, you're going to scare us. So just give us, some light-hearted, building confidence approach. So it is very much taking that kind of tone. And we're using these 5 key behaviours to really get the message across, to see whether indeed we can influence people. So this is bridging the gap now, therefore, in the communication. This is one of the big roadside posters. And there's a mix of these for both business and for consumer. Mainly targeting segment 1, who are 30 to 55-year-old women, tend to lose more than most online simply because there's a higher volume, lower value transactions that they're losing. and they're actually very information hungry. They're also incredible conduits to influence their partners, who just don't want to listen at all. And they're very good at influencing the older generation, and of course the younger generation too, who still go to mum and dad for IT information and advice, and particularly around security, which I find fascinating, given that most of us agreed, and I indeed had a Spectrum 81 as well, 21, whatever it was, ZX Spectrum. And yeah, so incredible really, but this is trying to bridge, as you can see, the real life security. You wouldn't be this silly in the real world, so just think about maybe what you're doing online. Protect yourself with strong passwords, be cyber streetwise. Jewelry in the sock drawer, you wouldn't do this on the street, why do it online? Protect yourself with software updates. And there's a number of different executions. This is one of the ad shell ones, the bus shelter ones. Break in case you fancy anything. Again, you wouldn't do this on the street, why do it online? This is beginning to bridge the gap now to business, communication, and there's, it's not Snowden, but there's a character chucking loads of very important customer details out the window. Again, you wouldn't do this on the street, why do it online? So it starts creating this dialogue, this conversation about what we're doing in the real world and what we're doing online. Does it have an impact on the real world? This is what you get as you land on the landing page at the moment. If you can't see that, it's My Business button to the left or My Home to the right. So you've immediately got a choice as to which way you go. You then get a kind of a news feed that pops up, and if you do nothing else, we know that dwell times on websites tend to be, I think the average time is something like 20 seconds, if that, on an average website. We're getting, so far this week, we've had over 3 minutes, so we're doing well. But this is really, if people just do nothing else, they've got 5 essential tips, they can click on the basics, and again, hopefully start changing their behaviours very, very quickly. If you're a business, you can then do a business health check, very simple. It's back to the guy who's an ambulance driver up in Cumbria, and any of his end users, let me just at least do a quick sense check. Am I doing the right things? Have I got the right provision or not? And basically, as you go down the street, you go in different buildings. You might go into the library. You might go into a school. We've talked a lot about that. You go into the school, there's loads of links there for parents, resources for teachers, parents, and we'll be able to immediately put in the program that you're running and starting to run, so that you can immediately take in presentation, upload that, and go off and do your thing. There's links to most. If we haven't got them all, then let us know if you spot anything that is missing. Please let us know. We want to link it to. This is the whole purpose of this is an aggregating site, linking back to all the good stuff that's already available, so that people do click through. I know that Get Safe Online have had a fantastic click through on this already in the last few days, which is brilliant. We want to see more of that. The police are tweeting on it. The people like Vodafone are blogging on it. The banks are putting it on their websites. People like RBS are sending it out to their SME customers through email. We're with Google the first thing this morning about just optimizing the videos that are on here. They're little cartoons, fun little cartoons about how you pass viruses about and colds and flus and just silly little things. But again, you wouldn't do this in the real world. Just think about what you're doing online. And they will be, they're sort of sent out to particularly cleverly placed wherever you're searching online, so that they will pop up with banners and the like. There's a lot of PR around this as well. As Tony said, we didn't manage to make the front pages or get the Minister in front of, James Brokenshire, that is, Minister of Security, in front of the TV cameras. We're trying to do more of that. We're trying to get more business communication around it. There's been an incredible amount of tweeting and blogging about it. Continue to see that grow. So anything you can do, anything you want to link to it, clearly is going to make it work even more. We've got some long leads as well, with some really good consumer press building, some really good business stories. It's been across Forbes, we've been in some of the business pages, we've been across all the broadsheets, most of the tabs. So we're pretty pleased with the amount of coverage we have had, as you say, despite news and journalists on the whole not seeing this as newsworthy. These are just some of the banners that are available online. This is obviously on the mail. And then there's a lot of banners that pop up depending on where you go online and whereabouts you might navigate. Streetwise tips and BCyber Streetwise tips. Very simple little tips about how you can stay safe and what you should be doing. And to be honest, I'm gonna pause there and end there, because partly don't want to keep you from lunch any longer, but really just wanted to say, this has been a lot of work over a couple of years. We've got, finally it feels, a consistent set of messaging built by a lot of experts, people like Get Safe Online, a lot of IT, cyber security experts across the piece. GCHQ have fed in, CPNI. We've had a whole host feeding in, some of the security companies. So it's been, it feels like we've got some good content. It needs to stay fresh, it needs to stay relevant, it needs to stay up to date. So please feed back if you see anything that you think should be different. The main thing is we're going to be measuring this. We're going back into field beginning to end of February. So we'll be able to come back and say, actually, this is beginning. All of this composite work, Get Safe Online are doing as well, is going to start feeding back into these measures, we hope, so that people do start changing their behaviour. And in time, we can therefore start reporting back to that. Journalists will get excited about that, because actually we are beginning then to move the dial and change things.